For more than a decade, he's been a member of the Nazi lowrider prison gang.
A two-striker, he was released from a California penitentiary just a few months ago.
Splasher reports he brings a message with it. Chris?
Simply put, there is no future in gang life. German claims to be one of 30 original Orange County NLR members.
Most everybody's either in jail, prison, or dead.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Definitely share this video because we got someone very important on here. Dude actually was one of my cellies at one time. But you know what? I'm going to let him introduce himself, tell you where he's from, and kind of explain a little bit about who he is, man. Jimmy Mack, tell the people who you are, where you're from, brother.
How you doing, everybody, man? My name's Jimmy Mack. That's my nickname. They call me Machiavelli on the yard. I came into the federal prison system in 1996. I basically just got out shortly about a year and a half ago. I went through a lot of stuff. I got locked down in ADX for 11 straight years. I stabbed somebody on every yard I was on. In the beginning, I wanted to put a lot of work in and make it for myself, and I couldn't understand why people were starting to stab me so quickly. And then my homeboys told me, you know what, you have nobody behind you. You got to have somebody that, they're going to fear that if there's retaliation on you, there's going to be a problem. So I ended up prospecting and ended up becoming an NLR. I really thought that was a career for me to be somebody in the federal prison system. I took the gangbanging to another level that these white guys really wasn't ready for. All it really did, though, is cost me years and years and years of solitary confinement time. Fortunately, even though I was in prison, I came across a lot of guys to this day, man, that I ended up liking, that I became, camaraderie of brotherhood and friends and homeboys and just guys I looked up to that, weren't even tough guys and killers, but just like me and Chad. I ran across Chad on one of the yards and in the shoe. And, in there, everything's split up so segregatedly, racially. Chad's from the East Coast. Chad's from New York, man. Nobody in the wildest dreams thought that two guys would end up actually becoming roommates, cellies, and actually becoming friends. I ran across Chad's TikTok a few days ago, and I was so surprised and so excited that I made it a fact to reach out and try to contact him, and that's where I'm sitting on this show today. I came out 22 and a half years later. The last 8 years of my life, though, I've really put a lot of work into changing. I had to take, when I did all that solitary confinement time, it made me objectively take a look at myself, the person that I had became, the person that I had gone so far and sacrificed so much to achieve the status and the role that I was in within my own gang and within the prison society. And I pulled back and took a look at what I'd done, how many people I had hurt myself, the people that I had hurt, the people that I witnessed get hurt. I realized I was a person that I no longer wanted to be. That person, I became not just an animal, I became a monster within the system. And that's what they do with monsters. They put them in cage and they put them in their own living tomb until they die. Just like Tommy Silverstein did 37 years of incarceration, solitary confinement, until they finally found him in his own room dead. And the same thing with Barry Mills. He did 20-something years in solitary confinement time. I was supposed to do the rest of my life in solitary confinement time. I'm just so stubborn, I outlived my sentence. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. But 8 years ago, when I pulled back objectively and took a look at myself, I no longer respected who I became. I no longer liked the person that I was. I realized the people I hurt, the butterfly effect, the ripple effect with a stone in a pond, them are real things, man. And when I ended up taking somebody's life and catching a body within the system, I had to really pull back and take a look at myself and seen what it did to his mother and his sister. And, his mother was an elderly lady, and they had to carry her out of the courtroom several times because she couldn't understand. And she couldn't, at first, before I was starting to go to court, I was still manipulating. I didn't have nobody to lie to no more. I didn't have nobody to manipulate anymore. So I had to start lying to myself and manipulating myself and telling myself I didn't care. I didn't care. Nobody cared about me. I didn't care. Besides, I was a gangster. I never hurt no women or children. So, but when I took a look at myself and I pulled back, I had to realize, man, that I did hurt kids. I did hurt women. I did hurt elderly people. I did burglaries for years and years and years when I was a teenager. I mean, what grandma's house did I hit? What child that was in the house but no longer felt safe? I ain't never done no weirdo shit like put my hands or doing anything sexually or anything like that in my life. I can say I can stand up for that. But when I robbed a bank, I robbed a lady that, what if I terrified her to the point where she couldn't come to work no more and feed her children? I victimized everybody, man. I victimized everybody. So I've been working hard for the last 8 years to change my life, to change the way I talk, the way, at one point I had a red swastika on the back of my head that looked like a stop sign. It was so big and red. And, when I got out here, it slammed the door on so many opportunities that I was trying to achieve that, I made it a point that I couldn't understand, because I knew in my heart I was changing, and I knew in my heart I wasn't going to hurt nobody else or take anybody's property. But you know what? I had to really objectively look back and try to figure out why people weren't giving me a chance and why they were judging me so much. And it would have been no different than me trying to explain to a minority or a black man that I'm no longer a Ku Klux Klan man, but I'm sitting in a sheet telling him it. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt with this swastika on the back of my head. So today, I don't have swastika anymore. I have a beautiful 2 crows and a runes thing that says, love and respect. And, it's just like, now I feel like I have the reason why I can say, hey, I have changed. And this is some proof. This is what I've gone through. I went through 6 hours of steady drilling with a shotgun on the back of my head to the point I had to tap out. And I've never tapped out on a tattoo in my life. And my entire body is tattooed from my armpits to the top of my feet to the top of my head. And so that's me in a nutshell, Chad. So I came across Chad's channel. I subscribed to it. I hit a bunch of likes. I put a bunch of messages out, and he reached out to me yesterday, and we started chopping it up, and he asked me to be a guest on his show. And I was honored to oblige him with that. And, Chad's a good guy, and he was even doing these things for people while he was in there, while I was still haven't changed. And he would tell me how he would get in that law library and he would help people, and people that no longer had any people to help them. They, when you get in there, your friends, family, and loved ones, they either die off or they fall off if you're in there long enough. And, Chad came to the rescue for a lot of guys that had no hope no more. So, I always had a huge respect for what Chad was doing in there. For me to see his show now, oh my God, he really did. I heard him. I knew the title of this book years ago. I listened to him tell me about what he's writing and how he's going to affect people, how he's going to save people, and then I seen results on the yards. I seen dudes come up to him just overjoyed with like, man, you got me in court. Hey man, you did. So Chad, man, my hat off to you, brother. So that's me, brother.
I appreciate it. I want to ask you some questions, right? We're going to get to the change and all that, but I know you said that you were part of NLR, Nazi lowriders, at one point, right?
Yeah.
And you also been involved, and we're just going to shoot straight, man. Like you said, you were a gangster, one of the biggest gangsters I ever met in federal prison at one time. You've been involved in some violent stuff, right? I mean, you committed some violent acts. You said you killed someone in prison. Tell us, where was that at? Tell us a little more about that.
I was Pollock, Louisiana. Me and a good friend of mine, when we opened that joint. And when you open a joint, it's the most dangerous joint there is, because especially for whites, you have to fight over a TV. Nobody's going to give you one. No, I don't believe in racism anymore. I don't believe in, I don't care what your sexual preference is, what your religious preferences, or what your jean jacket is today. But back then, the whites are the most hated, and we're the ones that don't stick together the most, and we're the minority of the prison system. So when you get in there, and if you just stand around while everybody else is claiming their tables and their everything from where you're going to eat in the chow hall to what tables you're going to have on the yard, to hopefully open up the poker tables and hangout spots and all that. If you sit around in a corner and you wait for everybody to take what they're taking, and then they go, oh, but the white guys haven't got nothing, that's never going to happen. So you got to jump out there and take your shit. So that prison, Pollock, Louisiana, United States Penitentiary, was by far one of the most dangerous places I was in. Beaumont used to have the record for the most bodies in a 1 year time, which was, I don't know, in Beaumont, it was like 7 or 8 bodies in 1 year. And Louisiana, when we opened it up, it was 13 bodies in 1 year. And Beaumont used to be called Bloody Beaumont. And Louisiana, we got all the fuck ups from Beaumont. Can you cuss on this?
Yeah, you're all right.
Hey, Beaumont used to have we got all the F-ups from Beaumont and everywhere else. Every disciplinary transfer, they used to open yards. You'd have to have 18 months cleaning, and you get there and they give you free paint kits and leather kits and cups and radios and sweats. And we got so much to where we were gangbanging and troublemakers that they had so many disciplinaries. And when Bush and Clinton built all these new little crackerjack prisons that people were doing life sentences in, that are little echo chambers that look like a county jail, they built them too small for too many people. And when you go in there, they said, you know what, let the disciplinaries open these things. So you can imagine every single dude on that yard is either an active gang member or got some type of violence or some type of leader status, or will not stop making knives, wine, and gambling. And you know, that's a powder keg, man. It doesn't usually take the first 2 days before problems start happening. And anyways, so we tried, as the white community, we tried to get along at first. And we were having meetings out on the yards. And the administration allows you to do that stuff because they have no control over that stuff. You know, they don't control who gets what TVs, who watches them, what channels get changed, da-da-da-da-da. Well, the Texas car, that because it was Pollock, Louisiana, they tried to claim it as a Texas yard. And their bylaws are completely opposite as what West Coast and California, Oregon, Arizona, and Washington, our bylaws are. So we already immediately clashed, but we still try to get along. But they started trying to say that because it's their yard, they were going to be in control of us and tell us what to do. Well, me and a guy that I really think is one of the most dangerous guys, the thing that probably would have ended up getting me killed at one time or another, came close to doing it, is I don't have a big fear button. You know, I'm not no tough guy. I could be a very dangerous person, but I'm not a tough guy. When I lived with Chad, I had to worry about Chad beating me up. Chad's a fighting ass motherfucker. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I'm not a big tough guy, but these guys were going to try to run our program. And what I was getting at is because I don't have a big fear button, but I'm going to tell you, my partner, John Burke, that's from Oklahoma, this is a guy that I would never, ever want to have on my bad side, because he's that guy. If I stepped out on the yard, I'm worried, is he here? Because that's his kill right there. But anyways, me and him, we went and grabbed you always cut the head off. If you're really doing gangbang 101, cut the head off the snake, and the rest of the fucking gang does not know what to do. So what we did is we plotted for a few days, and we got the general of the Texas AB, the one that considered himself the general and the one that was calling all the shots for the other 50 of them that were on the yard. And we butchered them. We set an example that, you know, this is how we roll. We don't put our dukes up. We come to you with them things, and we put them in over and over and over again. And we don't try to hit in the arms and the legs. We go for the neck, the face, the chest, and the back. And we did that, and we hit them 53 times.
I remember those pictures, man. I remember you had gave me those pictures, man, years ago. I wanted to put them in my book. And,
Yeah,
man, vicious, brutal stabbing right there, man. For real. So after you guys stab the dude, right, what happens, man? You go to the shoe, what happens? Tell the people what happens.
Yeah, well, you usually sit in the shoe. on trying to get transferred, but the more the administration's mad at you, the more they'll let you just sit there stagnant. They won't put you back out on the yard, but they don't want to ship you at this point, because you got to get. They have to have your case manager do a thing and then send it to what was it, Grand Prairie? Grand Prairie's got to approve it and send it back, and they got to get you a bus ticket and a plane ticket, and they got to do all that. So it takes a little while. So we sat in the hole for about a year. Well, actually, a guy, Trevor, or somebody that you were interviewing the other day, he had brought up the pilot program. And a lot of people don't know what the pilot program was because it only lasted for about a year and a half, and then they shut it down. It had so many bodies in the shoe because, of course, the federal system always puts the cart in front of the horse. They come up with an idea, but they don't understand the problems it's going to cause behind it. And what the pilot program was, when you go to a DHO hearing, it used to be, the old system was, they could never give you more than 60 days in the shoe. And if they won't put you out on the yard, they got to ship you on. Well, they come up with this pilot program, meaning we're going to break these troublemakers from making knives, making wine, fighting each other, stabbing each other. We're going to give them 1 year in the hole before we even consider shipping them or letting them back out. And when that's region, and when region rubber stamps something, even the warden on the yard cannot put you back out no matter how much of a problem you are in that shoe or how much you're going to promise to be good. They will not let you out. They cannot let you out by policy. So all that created was every shoe in every United States penitentiary bottlenecked up. I had six cellies in a 2-man cell at one point. Me, Little John, 3 or 4 Little John's homeboys, and 2 or 3 of my homeboys. That's 6 to 7 men. They have another gang in there called the DWB. We call them the dweebs, but they're considered the dirty white boys. But anyways, they had the record. They had 9 guys in a cell at one time. This is where you got to take turns sleeping on the floor.
You're in the shoe cell. It's designed for 2 people. You got 7 dudes in there, 9 dudes. And when you guys were in Pollock, they didn't want any trouble. And I'm sure you'll get to this, but I remember they were giving out sugar, letting you guys make wine.
Yeah, that was our deal. Because see, by law and policy that we could throw back in their faces, you could put a 3rd person in and on the floor if we take them, but you could push that issue. But on a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, an 8th, and a 9th, you cannot justify, and you will be held accountable if something happens to that 4th person, 5th. So what they said is, well, how can we do this? Our hands are tied. We don't like this either. What can we do to make this right? We said, okay. But back then they used to have white sugar in the chow hall, boxes of fruit, We want garbage bags. We want sugar. We want fruit. We want to make wine for our year, and we don't want you taking it. If we go out to the rec cage, our 6 gallons better be sit there in that thing. And what we did is we made 2 6-gallon bags, and we would drink through one, fill that up and make that again, drink through the other, fill that one up, and we stayed drunk, fighting. And then that's the guy said, when he said the other Travis or Trevor or whoever it was that you were interviewing, he said, and we used to make the sort team sort us. Well, you get drunk, you want to fight. You get tired of fighting each other. Even on fun stuff, you just get tired of beating each other up. So everybody gets drunk, everybody covers their windows and stuff and tells the cops, come on, come in. We're fighting you today. And we would fight them. But when they coming in with helmets, hockey puck, hockey shin things, elbow things, and they come in like a caterpillar. They put their hands on each other's shoulders and they shove each other in. So you got 1,400 pounds of weight pinning you up in a corner. They got other dirty things. They toss grenades in, rubber bullet grenades. They toss smoke grenades in. They toss tear gas in. They shoot you with a thing that looks like a paintball gun, but it's shooting a hard clay bullet out on you. They come out with Big Bertha. That's a big giant block of wood or a big bean bag that could crack your ribs. They got all of this and weaponry with you. And we would get so good at wanting to fight them on that level that we would make our own our own goggles, so they couldn't blind us, out of shampoo bottles and elastic out of our underwear. We would make our own out of magazines, elbow pads, and you know what I mean? We was gangsters, man. We would make them come in to show them, like, you're doing us wrong. Well, we're beating you up today. That, and we used to steal their handcuffs all the time, because any any gang member worth his weight in salt, if you cannot cut a knife out and make it, and make a handcuff key and take them handcuffs off just as quick as the officer can, you ain't worthy of being a gang member in our system. So we'd already have that. There'd be so many people in the room they couldn't keep track of the handcuffs. They would just look at the guy with the hands off, with his hands open, and figured he already took them off. And we'd wait right to the end of the shift where they have to turn that handcuff in turn that chip in so they can clear out and get out to the door, go to their car and go home. And we would wait till about the last 20 minutes before the shift change, and we'd knock on the windows. Come here. You want to buy these handcuffs back? And you don't want to buy them back? Then come on in. But we would make them do overtime. We'd make them stay. It's all a matter of manipulation and violence and everything else. But, when a person does you wrong, you justify why you're going to do him wrong, and we did a lot of that, man. We made the SOR teams come in and fight us, and we were pushed in cells. That pilot program, we would write region and try to appeal it because it was so wrong. I mean, it was so wrong. And we would come, one toilet for 5 people, 6 people in a cell. One shower for 5, 6 people in a cell. Three mattresses for 5 or 6 people in a cell. I mean, it's only obvious that you're being done so wrong that you're being treated worse than dogs get treated in a dog pound. So we would write region and try to appeal the fact that, hey, man, why are you doing this like that? And you know what their answer was on every single appeal? What's a pilot program? We've never heard of it. They're the ones that made it. So they ended up, there were so many bodies in Pollock, Louisiana, and Shoe behind being drunk and killing guys that were coming in that weren't liked on the yard that they shut it down. Matter of fact, they came in with a grinder and actually cut the 3rd bunk out because they had a little metal stack of 3 bunks. They cut the top bunk off and said there will never be more than 2 people in these cells ever again in the history of. But I heard right before I was leaving that they were starting to triple people up again. They can't even this room right here. I live in a clean and sober living house. That's the environment that I try to surround myself with now. And I live in a clean and sober living house, being clean and sober. And it's hard to find a clean and sober living house that you don't have a roommate because of how bad they twisted my noodle up with all that solitary confinement time. I can't sleep with a person in a room with me. So I get my own room every time. I ain't mad about it.
Is that your room every day, or you got to take your stuff out there in a day, or is that you?
Oh, this is my house right here, dog.
That's what's up.
I live in a house. I live in a house that's called the Iron Tribe, and they have to vote you in. When I came in here on my interview, a lot of people judge me out there. A lot of people don't give me a chance to prove myself. That's all I'm trying to do. In the prison system, I had respect on every yard I was on, but it was all out of fear. It wasn't real respect. I try to earn respect now. I try to do the right things for the right people. I try to be kind and polite and respectful. And, my mama always raised me to be yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, and thank you. And it's always opened a lot of doors for me, especially in the prison system where people look at me and they go, man, this guy's a real respectful, polite guy. That's only because that's the way I want to be treated back. Out here, I don't find a lot of that. But what I'm getting at is these guys, I had problems in a couple other houses I was in, but none of them guys had ever been to the joint, so they couldn't relate to me. And I'm slung out from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. So it's just like when I came here, I told him, I said, man, please just give me a chance to prove myself, man. I'm having problems in these other spots. The one thing I have in common in this house, every single person in here has been to the joint. So there's no judgmental to me, and they're giving me a chance as a man. Like, okay, we're going to give you a chance, man. And I get along with every one of my guys in here, man. It's a great house.
That's what's up.
It's a 2-story house. It's right here in Portland, Oregon. I have a great parole officer. I have a judge that, I love her like she's my own mother. So my mind and my heart is in a complete different place than it was for the last 15 years.
Let me ask you this though, Jimmy. You're originally from California, right?
I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, West Los Angeles, from Venice. I'm a Venice boy.
And you were a big skateboarder when you were younger too, right?
Yeah, I was part of the Dogtown Z-Boy movement. Yeah. I'm the one who started all this stuff.
We're going to talk about them skateboards in a minute too, because I want people to see some of your work, man. But, I know after Pollock, you were in some other dangerous places. You were in Allenwood, wasn't the most dangerous place, but, man, people still were getting killed there. I know you were involved in an incident over there in the gym too, weren't you?
Yeah, well, you know, that whole beef that started in Pollock, Louisiana too, man. There was a kid from the Dweeb gang, right? There was a kid that was you know, I liked him. I got along with him. He didn't like my partner John Burke though. And because of John Burke and me ended up becoming cellies in the hole, because you always, it's like you used to ask to be put in with me. You know, when you find somebody you can bid with, definitely if you got to be locked down time, you always say, hey, man, put me in with dude, put me in with dude. Well, because me and John were cellies, he ended up treating me disrespectfully. And, you know, I liked the kid, and he was a youngster, and he was running with my homeboys. So he really thought he was built like that. And so I told him, I said, you know, he called me a punk through a locked door. And it all started with that. And I said, look, man, I said, I like you. His name was Otto. I said, look, Otto, I like you. I said, I know you don't like John. I said, but, you know, John is not a bad guy. I tried to, you know, be the peacemaker of that. And when I seen that, they'd go, okay, I can respect that. But you know what? You called me by my name, you owe me an apology. And that's what it all really boiled down to, was this kid was stubborn to say my bad. I tried to get it to that point. I said, look, man, you ain't even got to write me an apology letter. Just yell down to me, hey, my bad. He would not even do that. So when I kept hounding him about, you know, hey, you're wrong, man. I don't tolerate that type of disrespect. We have a locked door between us. We need to fucking figure this out before it ends up becoming an issue. And he told me, well, just look at it like this. The next time I see you or you see me, make sure you have a knife in your hand. So I took that as a threat at that point. I said, okay, well, you just wrote out a check that you will have to cash now. If you do not apologize to me before we see each other, let it be known, man, it's on, you know, and let the gates be the bell. So he came to Ellenwood. I was already out on the yard. And, you know, they were worried about putting these dudes out because his gang has had issues everywhere he's gone. They're troublemakers by big time. And they're, you know, some of them are good guys, but a lot of them are not liked. And anyways, SIS, which is our gang task force unit of officers in there, which is like kind of internal affairs for the other police that are in there, but they also look over the gangs. And anyways, they were coming out and they kept asking people because they had them tucked away in the shoe. And they wanted to get enough of them there to lump them out in a group so they would have, so they can protect each other and have a little bit of numbers. And they kept asking my comrades around me, hey, do you guys got problems with these guys? And I didn't want to try to speak up and say, hey, there's an issue, but I'm trying to work it out. Because I didn't want them, they didn't have nowhere to put these guys at this point in the system. And I didn't want it to become a thing where like, okay, if I speak up, we could get rid of Jimmy Mack and let the rest of these dudes out. Then it looks like I ran off and asked for protection. Yeah. And I knew that. And that's how easy something can happen when it ain't even the fact. But that's how drama queens are in there. Before you know it, I'll be fighting behind that everywhere I go. So I didn't say nothing. But they asked everybody but me. But I didn't say nothing about, hey, I got a problem with this dude. I didn't want it to make it look like, you know, I was telling on him either. So I just let it go. And, you know, he came out that day and they were supposed to be hit by several other people on the yard. But the cops that came out and played peacemaker with so many people and made deals with so many people that everybody was willing to squash their beef with these guys. So they walked through the yard, they shook hands, they were told by other groups, like, look, we had a problem, but it's over, you know, welcome to the yard. They got into the gym. These guys were so well known at getting smashed, or them smashing somebody, but as soon as they hit every yard, that the cops in the gym went out on the yard to watch them get jumped on. When they actually walked past the cop, and the cop didn't know who they were. They were in the middle of the gym, literally in the middle of the gym between two basketball games, two handball games, and everybody in there to watch this go down because it was inevitable that something was going to happen. And really, something probably would have happened in the near future, but it wasn't happening that day, but it was with me. So I was already strapped up. When he went in that gym, I didn't know there was cops in there or out of there. All I knew was I was going to make my move. And when I ran up on him, I done already hit him twice where he thought I was he thought I was punching him. I was hitting him so hard. And then he seen what was in my hand. The only thing that saved that kid's life, and I'll always give him his dues, is that kid fought me tooth and nail and even dropped me at one point. I always told my homeboys I slipped until I seen the video from my lawyer where he clipped my chin and boom. But then that's what ended up getting him, because when he went to dive on me, I brought my boot up on instinct and he knocked himself out by hitting himself in the chin with my steel toe boot, right? And then that's when I put the boots to him on top of it. But yeah, and I'll never, even though I've changed, I still will not apologize for him underestimating me and me overestimating him, because he's the one who told me have a knife in my hand. He was supposed to have his knife in his hand. He just thought everything the cops have been back there in the shoe they didn't let him out for a couple months. Every week the cops coming back there and telling them, like, hey, we've got this squashed out there. You ain't got problems with these guys and then them guys. And then we worked on these guys and everybody's in agreement. You guys are good, da, 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 da. So when he came out, he didn't know I was out there. I laid in the cut. You don't threaten me. I'm not tipping your hand. I'm not letting you make a knife in the shoe and then come out and hit me on side. So I just laid in the cut like a lion in the bush. You know what I mean? I got his ass. I ain't gonna apologize for that. That was my gangbang days, man. I took it to the extreme.
I remember seeing some of the pictures and like the still shots from them videos, man, when that happened. You had showed them to me years ago. So anyway, me and you, we end up meeting in another prison in the beginning, right? We were kind of like beefing, right? I didn't even know you. Wasn't there kind of like a little tension between me and you in the beginning?
No, well, I didn't know you either, and I definitely didn't know you on the yard. I did. It's a big yard. It's not like, you don't know everybody pretty much unless they're in your immediate car, who you sit at the table with, And we had that little rich kid from Texas, a little kid that his mom would give him $1,500 a week of drugs, and he owed you a bunch of money. And somebody had ran into the unit and said, hey, this guy's coming up to your cell right now and beating up your little dude. And he really wasn't my little dude, but it was my room. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I ran out and that's how we met. And you're like, what, you got a problem? Woo-woo-woo. But I said, hey, wait a minute, man. Let me explain something. I don't care if you beat that dude up all over the yard, but that's my room up there. And you're like, well, who the fuck are you? I said, my name's Jimmy Mack. And you were like, oh, Jimmy Mack that knows John Burke? I was like, yeah. He's like, hey, all right, man. Hey, we good, man. I ain't coming up in your room. That's how we met. And then he ended up a couple of weeks later, we ended up being cellies in the shoe.
So, yeah, so I'm in the shoe already. You come to the shoe and they say, hey, look, man, we need you to take this dude as a cellie. And I'm like, dude, I'm not taking no cellies. And he's like, man, listen, man, he's a good dude. He's from California. I said, definitely not taking him. I'm from New York. He's from California. I'm not taking him. And then they ended up bringing you up to the door. And I'm like, all right, I'll make a deal with you. I got about $300 in commissary in my property. You bring me to commissary because I was starving in there, and I'll take him as a cellie. And I ended up taking you as a cellie. They brought me with all the commissary. We had a bunch of food. And I'm like, dude, honestly, I'm not just saying this on a video. You were the best cellie I ever had, bro. So
I know it. I tell everybody that.
We get the food. I get out 5 days later. I leave you everything. They send me back to the compound. How long was I out for? A couple days?
Maybe a week at the most, yeah.
And they send me back to the shoe, and I'm like, I'm going back to the horse. Man, put me in with my cellie, man. Put me in with Jimmy Mack. And, man, we became friends, man. And for real, man, I couldn't ask for a better cellie back then. Good dude, man. Gangster. I want people on here. You see all these, I'm not knocking anyone else's YouTube channels or prison channels. But, man, me and you, we really lived that life. We were the dudes that were really in the maximum security prisons, man. We were the dudes that were in there. Obviously, dude, you put in a lot more work than I ever did. But, I mean, people need to know that, we really lived that life. We're not just on here telling stories, man. And the mission is to try to help people not have to live the life that we lived, Jimmy. I mean, you're out here now. You're living in the sober house, man. I'm happy for you. You're doing good things. I want you to, not yet, but before we close, I'm going to have you give a message to the kids. But right now, what are you doing with your life, man? Because I want to see them skateboards you've been putting together.
Yeah, man. I struggled in the beginning, man, with culture shock. The world had changed so much on me. You could have put me in a space shuttle, sent me to another prison. It would have been the same results when I first got out, man. It's embedded in you there, Chad, that you don't ask people for help. It's a sign of weakness. So for my first 8, 9, 10, 11 months, I wouldn't even ask somebody, what is that thing? How does that work? I wouldn't do that, man. It was too prideful for me to For 38 years I've done, but the last 22 straight.
Hey, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to stop you because what you just said, man, I don't really tell a lot of people that, and I'm glad you said it because I feel the same way, even like with my wife. Like, I don't want to tell her, man, I'm embarrassed. I don't know how to do stuff. Like, the credit card was hard, the phone's hard, and she's going to watch this video and know now, like, there's certain things I don't want to fail. I'm embarrassed to fail. And, dude, I'm glad you just said it, so I'm not the only person that feels like that. But keep going, man. I apologize, bro.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, when I first got out, it's so embedded in you that it's just natural that you're not going to ask somebody because you're afraid somebody's going to look at you like you're stupid or you're weak or you're an idiot. You know, when they didn't prepare me for nothing, brother, when I got out, literally in the Greyhound, I didn't know how to turn the seats on. And everybody was in a hurry because the bus was getting ready to take off. And there was 4 or 5 of us in line, and I heard somebody from behind me say, "Hurry up." And I said, "How do you turn the seat on?" And then somebody else made the remark, "What are you, stupid?" And I said, "No, I'm not stupid. I've been in a cage for 22 years, man. How do you turn the seat on?" They said, "Wave your finger under it." So that's how unprepared I was for society. And that's how much, at least when you get to the United States Penitentiary, USP, SMU, Security Management Unit, ADX, Supermax, when you get to them levels, there is no rehabilitation. There's warehouse the animal in this cage until he either dies, gets killed, or we let him out. So anyways, when I got out, man, I wouldn't ask nobody. I could get nowhere. And all the pain that I had gone through, all my losing my family members, not knowing anybody in this world, every single person I met when I was on the streets was somebody new in my life. And nobody was giving me a chance. So I self-medicated a lot in the beginning, you know. I had relapse and revokes and relapse and revokes one after another until I got the best parole officer in the world, man. I have the best judge in the world. And they always told me, man, just listen to me, man. I will not give you bad advice. I will not set you wrong. I will not punish you for something that you're trying to help yourself work on. Just trust us. And I wouldn't do it. I wanted to get high. I wanted to self-medicate. I wanted my problems to go away. But that is not an answer. Matter of fact, all that does is even accumulate even more problems on top of the problems that you're not facing. So I started at one point, I just got tired of being in the county jail doing revokes. You know, I'd be out for a week, in for a month, out for 2 weeks, in for 2 months, out for 3 weeks, in for 3 months. I burned up a year and a half of my paper just to county jail. You know, maybe 3 months out of a year and a half, I was on the streets. So, you know, I told myself one day, I got tired of doing this weird dope that they call meth, but it's chemicals. I got tired of being the person that I despise, you know, the person that's scared, the person that's paranoid, the person that can't talk, can't advocate for himself. I got tired of being that person that I noticed I'm becoming. So I told myself, you know what, I'm going to listen to my parole officer. I'm going to take the advice of my parole officer and my case managers that they gave me. And it started working. So I started living in clean and sober living houses. But, you know, like I said, a lot of these other clean and sober living houses would not give me a chance, man. They would not. They judged me when I walked in. And a lot of them, I was forced into the situation. I wasn't voted in. My parole officer or my housing case manager got me in there, and I just grabbed my stuff and I go meet the people and move in. And they didn't want me there. I didn't realize this in the beginning because they were acting phony. They were like, "Oh, yeah, you're all right. Oh, tell us a story. Oh, okay, you're changing. That's good." And really, behind my back, they were like, "Man, we don't want this guy here. I don't trust him. Oh, he scares me. I'm afraid he'd steal my stuff." You know, and whatever the problems were their problems. But they weren't being man enough to bring it to my attention and try to work through it with me. They didn't give me a chance to do that. This house has been one of the first houses that said, "Hey, man, we're not going to judge you. You're asking for a chance. We're going to give you that chance. We're going to respect you from the beginning, but you're going to earn the respect of us really wanting you to be a part of this house." And that's where I'm at now. I've proven myself, you know. Being clean and sober, I love it. I can respect the person I am. And when I do things and I achieve things and I ask questions and I learn things, I really feel I'm growing, and I really feel I can be actually proud of myself at times. You know what I mean? I still have a long way to go. But what I won't do is I don't shoplift. I don't steal from people. I don't lie to people. I don't manipulate people. And when I earn that respect from somebody because I did something just out of the kindness of my heart, or I helped somebody where they needed somebody to help them move something or clean something or this or that, I really feel like, hey, man, this guy looks at me, or this woman looks at me, or this elderly person looks at me with the respect of I earned that from them, you know, and it makes me feel good. It makes me grow, and it makes me become stronger, and makes me become smarter, and makes me becomes more compassionate for what I do have around in my life. And you can't get that when you're being grimy, and when you're lying to people, and when you manipulate people, and you know, you can't respect yourself. So how can you respect anybody else? And if you can't respect yourself and you're not respecting anybody else, how could you expect somebody to respect you? You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm happy where I'm at now, man. I don't have a lot of stuff, and I got robbed because in the joint, when I was really running and moving and shaking and all that, you know, when I was in the joint, I was basically an apex alpha male gang member predator. Out here, I'm the biggest lame on the yard. I'm the biggest lame on the streets, man. I don't know all these gimmicks that they do. I've accepted counterfeit money since I've been out here, like a lame. Got beat out of $50 on that. Had dudes run off with my backpack because I thought I could leave it in somebody's tent for the day. You know, I've got played like a sucker out here, so I don't trust people out on the streets. I know what they're about, and they can hide. They can melt into the woodwork, and then I go to jail, and then they come back out, and they're right back out on the, you know. And I'm not trying to fight on the streets. I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I'm not trying to steal nobody's property, but I'm trying to make it, man. And I don't have a lot of, but you know what I do got? I got that peace in my heart now. I got that peace in my mind, and that's all I want to do. I got this youngster in here. We moved in on the same day, man. He's only like in his 20s, man, and he's already been around the block a couple of times. You know, it's not like I gotta teach him from a child on. This kid's already a good young man, and you know, he's in love with a woman that loves him real well. And that's all I do is try to get him to understand. Don't make the mistakes I made, man. Don't wake up and look in the mirror and wonder. You know, you don't age in the joint in your heart. I'm still 30-something years old. When in my heart, I want to get out. I just had a bad skateboard injury. I want to get out there and run the mud with my skateboard and jib and jive and talk. But you know what? I look in the mirror and I realize, man, dude, I'm at the end of my life practically, man. And, you know, I'm 58 years old right now, and more shit. So it's important to me that I take care of myself now. If I want to stay out here and enjoy the rest of my life, it's important that I do that. But what I'm getting at is, you don't understand. You don't value your time on this earth when you're out there moving and grooving, and until you end up looking in the mirror and think to yourself, out of everybody I victimized myself the most, man. I gave up 38 years of my life not having kids, not having but one woman that ever really loved me. You know what I mean? It's just like, I had to watch my family through bars. And when you realize what you've done to yourself, you either got to put the brakes on it and do what I'm doing right now and try to reprogram myself, uninstitutionalize myself, and enjoy what I do got, man. I'm hoping to still find me a little fat girl. You know, I'm hoping to still find me a girl that maybe has a couple kids and I can watch them grow a little bit, maybe school them a little bit, and, you know, make memories with them and all that stuff. I still hope that I'm going to do that. But I got this kid. I love him like he's my little brother. You know what I mean? And that's all I try to do with any of these youngsters that are worldly enough for me to think I can invest a little time or a little of my mistakes and making them to understand, hey, man, don't go down the road I did. You know, it's like I had all these racial tattoos. I would have never did that stuff. I've never been a racist in my life, to be honest with you. I'm from Venice, California. I'm from West Los Angeles. There's never been a racist white gang in Venice. Every gang it's an interracial gang. My original street gang is Venice Suicidal. And we're an interracial gang. In the joint, the skinheads looked at me like I was what's considered a shark, skinhead against racial prejudice. You know what I mean? And they wanted to move on me, but I was at such a level of gangbanging and violence that they were cool with me. You know what I mean? But really, they looked at me like I was their enemy. I was the risk trader. But yet I did tattoo all this bullshit on me because I wanted to be that soldier. I wanted to be that dude that's low spirit and don't give a mad F you know what about anything. If this if you come and move on me, I wanted to be that dude. And I achieved all the way up to that dude until I looked at myself and what I became. And I didn't respect that person. I didn't want to be that person no more. So I started working hard on, I made a promise to myself 8 years ago that I would never lie to somebody again, that I would never manipulate somebody again, that I would never steal somebody's property that they worked for that I didn't, and that I would never hurt somebody unless it's protecting myself or protecting somebody I care about, or I see a woman being victimized or a child being victimized or an elderly person being victimized. Then you know what? I'll wake up in county jail, or I'll take a bullet or stab me, or I'll get beat down, or I'll get arrested, and I won't care about it because I know I did the right thing in them situations. But I'll never intentionally go hurt somebody to where I'm victimizing them. I will never take somebody's property because I have a conscience now. I grew up and became 58 years old and changed my life for 8 years. I can't justify to myself. Even out of a store, people try to justify, well, it's a giant corporation, they got insurance, but it's not your stuff. How do you feel sticking somebody else's stuff in your pocket that you didn't pay for? That I can't live with myself at this point with that. So I don't have a lot, but my food stamp card, and like, you blessing me with a couple of dollars or this guy blessed, that means a lot to me, man, because then I know I bought that stuff. I know I own that stuff. I have the receipt for that stuff, and it's a work in process. It never stops, bro. Being clean and sober and doing the right thing, it never stops. But the more you do it, the better you get at being a better person and the happier you become in the end. So knock on wood, I am not, dude.
Thank God. Hey, listen, man, that's a hell of a message for kids, man. But let me see them skateboards. You got one of them by you? One of the ones you're doing? I want people to see the work that you do, bro.
All right, I got one. This is the third one out of it. It's called a local artist. There's a guy that I know that opened up a skate shop, and I helped him design his shop a little bit. And I told him I'd draw a little bit and tattoo a little bit. And he had me sketch something down. He goes, hey, can you take a blank stick and sling it out? I'm going to make it part of, my decorations in here. So this is the third one. That's the guy's name that owns the shop. And I put skates over there. And
hey, that's nice, bro. That's custom, man. You could be doing that stuff, making good money doing that for people, bro.
Yeah, well, he's got a guy that came in the shop and he was pointing out that they've been wanting to buy the other skates that I did. I sent you pictures of them. If you ever want to put them on your thing, go ahead. I mean, you have free range with anything we talk about, anything I show you. My life's in a book. I'm trying to write a book myself called On Death's Bloody Trail. It's just my life story. It's an easy book to write because it's right here in my noodle, and it's just me telling the truth. It's what I went through from in 1996 when I stepped into the system, in 2018 when I stepped out. It's what I went through. It's what you do too, man. It's exposing the system for what it really is and not what people are told that it is. How the cops in ADX tortured inmates and tortured us. When I first started telling my girl stories, like, hey man, these cops used to pull us out and they would put us in 4 points and they would take turns punching us in the stomach like a game to knock our wind out. She told me, oh, you're lying to me. That doesn't happen. Those are officers. Them are upstanding citizens. Then I didn't know that there was an internet. I didn't know what cell phones were. I didn't know nothing of that. She would go do investigations on the thing I would say, and then she'd come and show up. I feel horrible. I basically called you a liar. I looked that up. You're in that. That's all true. You were telling me the truth. That is just one incident. And them cops called themselves the Cowboys. Them cops they were a gang. They had their own tattoo and everything. They started out justifying beating up the weirdos, beating up the gunners that you were talking about, but then that led into they want to beat everybody up. We're
going to talk about the Cowboys. Me and you got a couple interviews we're probably going to do. I'm sure that people want to hear from you again. So we're definitely going to do a part 2, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to close the show out. But, man, I want, hey, man, all love and respect for you, bro. And anything you need, I'm here. And we're definitely doing another interview. Definitely
appreciate it. I feel honored that you invited me onto your show and always willing. I do this out on the street, man. And hopefully my whole thing is when I get that 1 year mark of sobriety, I want to start being able to talk to kids, and at least I know I have that in my pocket that I'm 1 year clean. So listen to me. My head's cleared up right now. Kids, listen to your mother, respect your teachers, and don't get in trouble.
That's what's up.
That's what I try to start off telling any kid.
Well, we're going to definitely do some things, man. I'm going to close the show, man. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. If you want a specialized skateboard from Jimmy, man, I'm sure we can get an order in for you. Blood on the Razor Wire, man. Until tomorrow, we're out.